Ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is How Humans Broke the Game by the channel TierZoo. I already reacted to one video from TierZoo about the lizards, and it was just great video, and lots of people was also telling me that to react to this particular video. So I guess this is about humans, how humans came to be from our monkey ancestors, I guess. The evolution of humans, from all the species, I guess, or 9 or 10 species of human long before. Then was just 2 and now it's just 1. So yeah, and remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe and support this channel. That way I know which type of videos to react to more, which channel to react to more. Comment down if you want to react to some video, or comment down if you want to tell me something, I guess. And yeah, let's watch this one.
This video was made in partnership with CuriosityStream.
This is ridiculous to think how humans used to hunt big animals like that just for food. They relied on food by hunting, massive animals like that. I mean, lots of wild predators mentality is always that they see some other species and all they can see is food, I guess, and they are really I guess wild, I don't know, more ferocious towards them. So you can see them actions. Like if you see a wolf are people don't understand how different wolves are from the dog. Wolves are not just some powerful version of dogs. Wolves are just ferocious. Wolves see you and they see you as a food. I mean, there's a saying, when wolf growls, the iconic wolf growl. Once wolf growls like that, you have to leave, even if you are in company with somebody who's a trainer of the wolf. You have to leave, because even the trainer cannot keep that wolf under leash after that. So wolves are really ferocious like that. So that's how the mentality of humans used to be when they used to hunt massive animals like that, because you have to charge them with spears, with ferocity and just animal predator instinct, just to kill them so you could eat. I mean, imagine that mentality. That's just effed up, man. But it was important for the survival. So humans used to be just ferocious predator like people back then. I mean, they right now a rhino charges at you, you run away. This is even bigger animals than that, and they are charging towards rhino with spears, while rhino is charging toward you. I mean, that's just incredible.
Humans are the current #1 build in the meta, but they haven't always reigned supreme. In fact, at first they were one of the least powerful builds in the meta, and it took several buffs, refinements, and tweaks before the human became even remotely threatening within its home server of Africa. So today, we're going to break down all the different variations of the human build throughout the history of Outside and discuss their unique traits, stats, and abilities, with the hope of demonstrating why some of these skill tree choices worked, while others couldn't compete. The first players to unlock the human class were a group of African primate mains that switched from the knuckle-walking quadrupedal build to a bipedal one. It's important to note that at this point, they hadn't sacrificed their arboreal mobility perks yet, and relied heavily on their ability to climb to escape danger. The top tiers at the time were all large terrestrial mammal builds far too strong for Australopithecus to challenge them, so their only option was to avoid them. It might seem counterintuitive to switch to a bipedal.
Alright, it's ridiculous to think like we used to be, one of the animals that was scared all the time, had to run away, climb the tree just to get away from the predators. Imagine if we evolved not from monkeys but some predators. What would our mentality be? Like, our basic instincts right now is to survival. If something happens, we immediately get spooked, and our feeling is like run away. That's our immediate feeling. Even the kids who are just really small, doesn't know much, if they get scared, they suddenly run away, because that's that's in your DNA, because that's what our monkey ancestor used to do. But imagine if we evolve for some kind of predator like lions or something. What would be our instinct? Would we even know the fact of, we should be afraid just for our safety? Would our basic instinct would be that, be afraid? But then again, if we didn't have that, would we have been survived for long? I mean, I think our, basic instinct of be afraid of things, that, pushed us harder to evolve into some things, because we were weaker. We were scared of lots of things, and that, pushed us to invent lots of things that made us what we are today, I guess. But still, if we were, our ancestor was some kind of predator like lions or something, we would have been completely different.
Build when your playstyle is centered around the arboreal zone, but the reason this was so crucial was because it freed up their hands to be able to carry items back to their tree. This was the first step towards refining the cooperative, loot-sharing playstyle that have made humans so dominant in the current meta. Now, you might be surprised to learn that the devs have nerfed humans in the past. The tree-dwelling strategy was seen as a cheap way to avoid dealing with other players, and so the devs decided to reduce the number and size of trees in the Africa server. This forced humans to ditch their arboreal strategy and spec into ground-based abilities. And for a while, humans
Deus wanted to push their, microtransaction store or something. That's why they nerfed this.
Got absolutely bodied by other players. Even with the ability to use items and create tools, the other builds in the region, like saber-tooths and giant hyenas, were far too strong for humans to deal with. They had to rely solely on the thieving skill to get by. But this disadvantage was slightly mitigated by their newfound ability to crack bone using tools, letting them scavenge for marrow after big cats had finished with the kill. Once humanity had scraped together enough evolution points by scavenging, they finally got to level up some of their stats and give themselves the ability to survive by hunting rather than scavenging. They spec'd into longer legs and less body hair, allowing them to finally unlock one of the human's most powerful signature abilities, sweating. Sweating allows the player to recharge their stamina even while moving, whereas other builds are forced to stop and use the pant ability to recharge stamina.
What does sweating has to do with stamina? I mean, yes, sweating helps with less body heat. Maybe that has something to do with it. I mean, usually, lots of giant animals, they gotta, heat up a lot, so that's why they wait to, make sure their body temperatures go down. I mean, that is a part of it. I think they overheat. Humans don't overheat like that because humans can sweat.
They could justify putting all of their evolution points into mobility rather than power, because by this point they'd also leveled up their crafting enough to make spears, the staple best-in-slot two-handed weapon until the invention of gunpowder. A sustainable source of meat is worth a lot more XP than fruit or scavenged marrow. So much so that this let humans finally start leveling up their intelligence to a truly staggering level, promoting both cooperation and innovation.
Yeah, about the fruit factor. People used to say, humans, discovered farming and they settled down. And people like, but there used to be fruit trees everywhere. Why didn't they settle down around that? Well, fruit doesn't have much calorie compared to the wheat and, grains, basically rice. So when they discovered farming, they didn't discover some, royalty farming that today we take advantage of. Basic things like corn, rice, wheat. This thing had immense calories, so they could stay alive without trying to hunt animals. Fruit didn't have that much calorie. How many fruit you're going to eat per day to get calorie? How the hell are you going to get 3,000 calories? And that is 3 or even more than that. That's how you used to need back then, because you were constantly on the move. It wasn't the life of today where you just sit someplace, I guess. So 3,000 plus calories. How the hell are you going to get that from the fruits?
But once again, nerfs were on the way. Just before the Ice Age balance patch hit, a faction of the human player base migrated servers, establishing themselves in the Europe server. Most of the others stayed in Africa.
Neanderthals.
The Ice Age patch hit, and it led to two very different changes in the two servers that the humans were playing on. In Europe, as you probably expect, the overworld temperature dropped and ice damage became a threat. The humans, as well as most of the other top players there, spec'd into bulkier builds that could survive the cold better. In short, the update didn't really affect them too badly. This group became known as the Neanderthal faction. The humans that remained in Africa, now known as the Sapiens faction, faced a much worse update. Ironically, during the Ice Age, Africa got hotter and drier. The large herbivores humans had such a good matchup against all left, and the human player base in Africa was reduced to the brink of extinction.
Damn, so Homo sapiens almost went extinct. I thought that was the case with Neanderthals. So yeah, at the start Homo sapiens was about to die, I guess, not Neanderthals. How the hell did they kick back and became the sole species that we have today?
With player counts below 10,000, they survived by leveling up their fishing skill, scavenging for shellfish and other low XP sources, as they too made their escape from Africa.
Alright, one trend I'm seeing obviously is like if you're screwed completely, if your back is against the wall, you're gonna invent stuff. So I think that even carries over today. I mean, this doesn't apply to lots of people because our life of leisure that is we have today changes lots of aspect. But basically, if you are under pressure a lot, if it's a life or death scenario, people usually come up with stuff faster than usually they would have. I mean, that's basically the thing is right now, there are race for, vaccines. So, usually, I don't think in history there was ever this fast somebody discovered some kind of vaccine. And today, even though this might not be a perfect vaccine, it's good enough. People already came up with a vaccine. It's just been a year. Year is not enough for that. So when people's back is against the wall, they come up with things faster. So that's what happened with Homo sapiens. They were about to go extinct, so they came, creativity. Like they started to do fishing, I guess.
When they finally escaped Africa, they were finally back in a server that they could thrive in, but they had competition. Neanderthals had the highest stats of any human build in history. They had bigger brains, more girthy bodies, stronger muscles, just undeniably a more viable build compared to sapiens. So by this point I'm guessing you're wondering, well, if Neanderthals were more powerful, why is it that eventually the Neanderthals lost the faction war to the sapiens? It turns out that their physical superiority was actually their downfall. Neanderthals and sapiens had a very different hunting strategy when it comes to taking down large herbivores. Neanderthals had the strength to defeat them with melee combat, and had the defense and HP to be able to take a hit or two, even from some of the Ice Age's strongest herbivore builds. They were also fast enough to be able to close the distance between themselves and their targets. This all sounds awesome, but there's one key detail in this plan that you might have noticed. Since Neanderthals were fit enough to take on these herbivores face to face, they didn't have to invent ranged weapons. Sapiens, on the other hand, would get one shot if they tried to take on behemoths like mammoths or woolly rhinos in close combat. Thankfully, even though their brains weren't as big as Neanderthals, it was still more than enough for them to be able to use the aforementioned crafting skill to create the first ranged weapon, the atlatl. Atlatls are a relatively simple yet effective item that allows the user to launch spears over twice as far. This was critical for the survival of sapiens, as it allowed them to match the DPS of—
Look at that creativity, not just throwing spears, finding a way to throw spears even more, at far distances. Again, we're seeing here, Neanderthal is more stronger, more better, they don't have to do much, and Homo sapiens are weaker, so they have to invent stuff. And that's gonna lead them to, even being better, I guess.
The Neanderthal, but also stay out of range of a potentially devastating counterattack. Sapiens also tended to have bigger party sizes. Neanderthals were less social and tended to stick to small, tight-knit groups, while sapiens formed much larger communities that could control much larger territories. Eventually, even though Neanderthals were the better fighters, they were the ones failing to find enough XP to survive. And this is where their physical might became a huge detriment. The bigger you are, the more energy you need to survive.
Yeah.
And so the Neanderthals' strong, powerful bodies eventually became unsustainable. Most of them were defeated in combat or starved, although a few did end up actually switching factions and joining with the Sapiens. But finally, after defeating their most dangerous opponent, humans were free to dominate the game as the new top tiers. They mastered several key advanced techniques such as agriculture, archery, and sailing, allowing them to push the meta far past what other builds ever thought possible. You'd think that they would all work together to rule the game, but unfortunately many of them ended up engaging in PvP with each other.
Look at that shit.
It kinda makes sense given that other
list goes on and on and on.
Other players are hardly even a challenge, but nonetheless, infighting is their biggest weakness right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, hopefully that gives you a better background on the history of the game's most overpowered build. Oh, by the way, I bet many of you noticed the incredible footage of ancient hominids that I used in this video. This footage is from a brand new documentary called Out of the Cradle, which was
Yeah, people, go to curiositystream.com/TierZoo and support that channel. So yeah, that makes sense, man. That kind of clears things up in my head, because I always thought, Neanderthals probably went extinct because they ran out of food in Europe because they were Ice Age. That was kind of the, one of the factors, but that wasn't the only factors. Obviously, Homo sapiens, killed them, most of them, and whoever was left joined Homo sapien, became one of them, I guess. And it makes sense. Neanderthal was more stronger, better in every sense of the way, so they didn't have to think anything. They just needed a spear and just killed predators like they used to before. But Homo sapiens had a competition now, and they had to evolve. They had to evolve for the survival. So like I said, when your back is against the wall, you have to come up with stuff. You have to. It's not a choice anymore. So when you don't have a choice and you have to evolve, otherwise you die, people come up with really good shit. So that's what happened there. And since then, that is what that is what happening up until now. People come up with stuff when there is no other option. We are good at that. That is why I think everybody just shrugs off space exploration, like how is that going to help, even though 30+% of GDP in the world is because Americans was going to the moon with the Apollo program, trying to, like, NASA's back was against the wall. How the hell we put this massive computer into the rocket and go to the moon? So their back was against the wall, so they came up with chips and things like that. So people invent stuff. So by going to the space, going to the Mars, even Jupiter's moon, Saturn's moon, putting bases there, you will come up with lots of difficulties of space that will push people to invent stuff to make those things easier. That will eventually help out us here. So new technology will not be here if we not explore space and go into new territories. We have to explore uncharted territories if you're going to find any other use, because you don't know which kind of technology is going to exist just because some people wanted to go to the Jupiter's moons or Saturn's moons or something like that. So people were like, why are you studying atom? Like, when the quantum physics was evolving in the 20s, 30s, why you spending so much time and resources researching atom? They didn't know that every single technology that we have today is because of that particular research. So it's humans broke the game because humans were weaker compared to the other predators, and they had to invent stuff, otherwise they would have died out. I like TierZoo. I like how he makes all these things, all this evolution talk and animals talk into like it's a game or something. It's fun. Alright people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out other reaction I did. There's a link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the cards for the playlists. Check out the end cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.